So I again got a very disliked ratio review for my latest review of Game of Thrones, and I totally get it. I stand by pretty much everything I said, but at the same time, I completely get it. But what I'd like to do is maybe just clarify a little bit why I was so positive on this last episode and address what I think a lot of the fans are feeling with their overwhelming disappointment with how Game of Thrones is winding down. First of all, I have admitted in every review I've put out since the season started, and will continue to point out probably, yes, there is a big step down in quality of dialogue after losing George R. R. Martin's source material and going off of just his what seems to be rather heavy consultation on where the show is going. And yeah, that's undeniable, but it's still above average. It has some pretty weak moments, some CW bad level moments at times, but overall, I don't hate it. And a lot of fans want to see more characters die. And I think at the Battle of Winterfell, they certainly could have knocked off one or two more. The Hound, kinda, and maybe the leader of the Unsullied, whose name I forget. Those guys' character arcs are concluded enough that I could have seen them dying and it kind of resonating. But for me, the reason I wasn't upset not seeing any major characters die was I don't feel like any of their arcs are complete yet. Daenerys still needs to resolve all her things, and if she died right now, I would just be like, okay, you did all this to die in some battle from a faceless army from a leader we know nothing about. I don't want the Night King to kill many of our biggest characters because we don't know anything about him. He's a weak villain, especially compared to Cersei. And the reason I'm excited is we got this epic battle out of the way, and now the show can once again focus on the villain I care about, Cersei. And the characters that did die were the right choices in my mind, especially Theon. He came back to his home, his character arc is absolutely complete, and he was able to prove that he is no longer weak, he is no coward, he's willing to charge and die for those he loves. From a storytelling standpoint, it made complete sense. It looked a little dumb seeing him just blindly charge the Night King, but in the context, I get why they do it, and I don't think it's that bad. But I actually think this episode might have had a leg up on the previous two because there wasn't a whole lot of dialogue, so I couldn't really harshly judge it on it because it was just like, oh, it was not really there. There was like 20, 30 lines of dialogue total, it felt like to me. And the battle was communicated very effectively. I know the meme of it being way too dark is everywhere online, but I guess I just have a really good screen, except for the very beginning. I saw it pretty clearly. I had my brightness all the way up, but I definitely saw it. And that's where the glowing review comes in. You guys have to remember, I need to take the full context of the episode into account. And when it comes to the technical aspects of the Battle of Winterfell, it is far above anything else that has happened in television history. It's an hour-and-a-half long battle that looked great and had amazing communication to the audience of what is happening and why, something that previously on TV we didn't really get. The Battle of the Bastards, while it did certainly have more narrative weight, did not have the level of spectacle this one did. So I agree with you on a lot of the narrative weaknesses in some ways, but I get why it's not there, and I honestly would have been more disappointed to see Jon Snow die by the Night King. I would have just been like, oh, this guy who we know nothing about, who has no actual character, and is just this overarching fantasy trope looming threat, ended one of the best characters in the entire series because fans demand blood. Lame. To me, the Night King has been something the show added to the series to add a little bit more action, spectacle, and horror, to which is what honestly been a bit of a drier spot in the books. It gave them breathing room, but now they had to deal with that problem. And they dealt with that problem by just giving us a tremendous spectacle that had some impact, but not a ton, and now we can refocus on what we need to focus on, Cersei. So in terms of my expectations for the show, seeing them just go ahead and get this crap out of the way and deliver a really pretty battle in the meantime, I'm okay with it. Yes, plot armor was in full effect. More people should have died. Sam has no reason to still be breathing. I'm well aware of that. But again, I'd rather see him live to die another day. James Bond reference. So no, I don't think you're wrong in kind of having backlash for my review, because I should have communicated more effectively that, yeah, I see this whole episode, and honestly the first 2 episodes leading up to it, as a side spectacle the show needs to clean up. We're watching cleanup from an unneeded addition to try and bloat the runtime of the overall show. But it could have been a lot worse. I could have had this villain I care nothing about kill characters that I would feel are not earned to die there. So I'm just pretty optimistic. And I'm going to reiterate again, from a technical aspect, coming in from someone who is a huge cinematography fan, someone who loves practical and non-practical effects, this was stunning. There were so few shots that looked bad, except for a couple dragon things here and there. And the costuming of the zombies, there was nothing like The Walking Dead, where the ones up front look good, the ones in the back look really, really bad, just people with a little bit of makeup. No, they just all looked stellar. I just didn't have enough emotional investment in the Night King for me to care he went out so easily. And I guess for me, that means it kind of just works. The characters that died, I'm okay with dying. Arya got a badass moment. Doesn't really entirely make sense how she got there, I'll agree with that, but again, I don't really care, because a lot of people seem to think the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones are flawless when it comes to plot armor, etc., and I disagree. It's not as bad as it is now, but it's always been there, just because they've killed a few main characters here and there, which, again, the whole reputation of Game of Thrones killing characters all the time and being this bloodbath of characters is not quite accurate. It's mainly just been the Red Wedding and a few notable deaths since. It's not that far apart from your standard show. And people are gonna point out like Littlefinger, Joffrey, those are villains. Of course they're gonna go out. So we can move on to the big bad evil who's been looming like a shadow the whole time. Cersei. That's just my take on that. Feel free to continue to disagree with me. I encourage the level of discussion I've seen in the comments down below. I just wanted to address some people who thought that I didn't notice or wasn't aware of the few weaker technical aspects. No, I completely am. I'm just thrilled to see such a great bar set for what a battle on television can be. So when series like The Witcher, Wheel of Time, Gentlemen Bastards, Cosmere ever get adapted to the screen, they don't have an excuse to not look that good. And maybe brighten it up a little bit. Just a little bit. It was dark a little bit. It's too dark sometimes. Anyway, guys, that's just my clarification on my thoughts on Season 8 of Game of Thrones so far, ending up to the Battle of Winterfell. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And have a good one, y'all. Peace!